What's going on, guys? For Complex News, it's 360 with Speedy Morman. I am him, and today we have a legend in the building, and I don't use that term very lightly. Pharrell Williams is in the building. Pharrell, how are you, man?
I'm good, and you?
I'm well. Let me start this by saying I'm so very honored that you would take the time to speak to us today. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and congrats on everything.
I appreciate that as well. I want to start with, the fact that your name is Pharrell, and you're one of the rare people who can exist in this world on just a one-name basis, and everyone knows who we're talking about. I'm curious if at any point you've ever regretted the fact that you didn't come up with a stage name to differentiate who was talking to you, because anybody can say Pharrell, and you would never know if they know you or if they don't.
That's an interesting question. I know when I was in school, as grammar school, as a kid, I hated my name because it was so different. I wanted a typical name like, my other friends. And my friends either had names like Brian, John, James, or something Sean, or something Ron, or something Zell. And, Roshan, Tyshawn, Taekwon, or like, Ronzel, Fonzel. Like I just felt like my name was just so like in the middle of everything. And then, as you grow older, you realize that like, your parents knew what they were doing, and your destiny is your destiny. So, I mean, in terms of someone knowing who, I guess based on what you're saying, someone recognizing who my spirit is or who I am, who my existence tends to be when you say that name, like, I guess I'm honored. I never dreamt that this would be what it is, but I'm very grateful.
You say you're very grateful. I wonder, but a lot of people always say that, and I'm not trying to press here, but a lot of people always say, I never could have imagined, or I never could have dreamt that I'd be here. I'm wondering if you never in your life did imagine that when you were a kid, when you were coming up, when you had this crazy desire to be successful, did you never imagine yourself on the mountaintop?
No. I still look at music like, apparel and footwear. I still look at it like it's the very beginning. I love it, and I appreciate it so much. Like, it's still the beginning for me. In fact, I'm just not really good at looking over my shoulder and, evaluating and archiving my past. I'm not one of those guys that are like really good at that,
Yeah, I've heard you say that a few times. So then I guess my last thing about this, when you think about, you coming up and being young and envisioning yourself in the future, if you didn't see yourself on the mountaintop, I'm curious where you did see yourself.
I did not. I always thought it would be other people. I always thought that I would just be the guy that would look to my friends who were going to do those kinds of things, or, to people that, perfect strangers that you don't know at all, but that you like, or you enjoy certain things about their music or their apparel or for whatever. I just didn't think it was going to be me. I had no idea that this was going to turn out this way, to matter, to be able to do what it is that you do every day and go in and work with people like all the people that I work with at the moment. Like, I'm like, man, and they trip when I say things like that. But, I would always choose humility over hubris,
That's one thing that we've come to learn from you, that you always will choose with humility. And I think that's what makes you you. I want to speak about 2020 as a whole. A lot of people do look to you, Pharrell, as a source of inspiration, as a light in times. But this is a year that has tried just about everyone. I'm wondering, did you feel tried like everyone else did this year? And if so, how did you persevere?
I think I've said this like twice before, but I think this is like probably the best platform to say this, is that we keep talking about this year, right? We say 2020, you hear people say, oh man, fuck 2020, or, 2020 was the worst. I can't wait to get out of it. But 2020 is a measurement, right? It's a metric. It's a year. And a year has to do with weeks. And the weeks, have to deal with days. It's 52 weeks, right? 7 days a week. And, the day itself is 12 hours of light, and supposed to be like, eventually 12 hours of darkness. Like, But that's regarding the sun. And the sun has done everything it was supposed to do. It released the nuclear fusion. It's, given our planet the photosynthesis that, our plant life and plant kingdom needs to give us oxygen. It's also given human beings vitamin D. The sun shows up every day. The sun didn't do anything wrong. These things that we're going through, this is mankind. This is human nature. The sun didn't do anything wrong. It's done everything it was supposed to do. It shines. It gives us light. It inspires us. It's literally our day star. It's a star. It's done everything it was supposed to do. 2020 didn't do anything to us. If anything, 2020 is listening to us complain about it and saying, I didn't do this shit, y'all did.
Talk to him. Talk to him.
I don't need to wear a mask. You need to wear a mask. I didn't turn down this particular vaccine, if that's what you believe or not, whatever you did. I didn't not exercise. That was you. I didn't 2020 didn't do anything to us. Time didn't do anything to us. If anything, we should be thanking time that we have another moment, because see, here's the thing. If you don't have 2020, you can't get to 2021. I think we're looking at this wrong. We got to look at ourselves as human beings. That's the number one thing we do every time. We blame everyone else but ourselves, and me included. If I had any words about 2020, we should be grateful for this time. It allows us to get to the next moment.
Man, I'm so glad I asked you that, because that's a perspective that I imagine many, many other people have not thought about this year.
It was man's interaction with this year that was the issue. But again, we don't like to see that that's us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like somebody that don't know that that they smell. It's like, man, what is that? No, it's you. So quick to blame somebody else, but have you really taken an inventory with yourself? And I'm saying myself included. None of us are perfect, man, but we just gotta sometimes it might not be nobody else. Sometimes the issue really just might be you,
Yeah, that's real. I want to talk about the new episode that you just dropped of Other Tone. An artist that you have been collaborating with, Rosalia, was on that episode. I'm wondering what you see in her. You've kind of co-signed her a lot, and it's been very public that the two of you have been working together. What is it about Rosalia that makes you gravitate towards her?
Well, she's different, I think when I work with people, I work with them because I feel like there's something else. They're more than just musicians. They are, people who not only look at music differently, but they just kind of see life differently, and they're able to infuse that difference in their music, and that's what makes them interesting to me. And Rose is one of those girls. She's just, she's young, but her feeling is just, her feeling, to me, the feeling of her spirit just feels bigger, broader, and wider than her physical years. And she's always pushing the envelope. I mean, from what she's wearing to, the content and the intention of her lyrics. When you talk to her, she talks about intention all the time. Intention and conviction are the two most important things to her. And it's how many artists are really thinking that way? Sometimes they're just oh, I have this great hook that's gonna be sticky as fuck, and over this beat. Okay, cool, but what else is there? And that's what I really like about Rose. There's so much more to her than just the music, and that's what goes into her music. When her manager Rebecca Leon, when she brought her to me for the first time, when Rose had only had a video out, I was blown away. Oh, she's the future. And we got in and we did something, and I don't think we ever finished, but then she ended up going on the road and really just taking off. And I remember calling Sony going, you guys pay attention to this one. She's coming up there. Rebecca's gonna bring her up there. You guys do not let her out of the building. And they got that deal done. because she's special, you know? And if you look at her now, like 2 to 3 years later, like, voila.
Voila, what a good way to put it. Voila. You speak about her being special. And there's another person that you've been speaking about recently that you think is very special. You told Allure magazine that you think Rihanna could be from Venus. What does that mean when you say something like that?
Rihanna's like, she's love. I think she's love. And love, you would think, is just like, you would think that love would not snap back at you. You would think that love would not give you the pure, honest truth. And you would think that love, you know, if Venus is the goddess of love and Mars is the god of war, the deities, love does defend, and love will go to war for what's right. Love will snap back when somebody pops off at the mouth and says some stupid shit. Love will put you in your place because they love you, right? And love will defend that which is right because love loves. That's real. All you got to do is just, you know, if you're on her, like if you follow her or whatever, like you'll just see who she is as a person. I mean, if you don't have the pleasure of knowing her personally, who she is on her socials is who she is as a person. She's that. And so when I say that, like, she's from Venus, it's like she's love. And everything that she does is because she loves you, or because love's representing what's right. And look at her, if you were to slice Venus open, she'd be laying in there.
Just in there, just open it up, she's right in there.
She'd be laying in the mantle of Venus, naked. I think that's just her. She's beautiful as a spirit. Like she is Venus to me. She's
Venus to you. You speak about her on social media. She's very open and entertaining, but she teased the fact that the two of you are working together on her Instagram story. She put like a photo, it said the Neptunes, and she put gang back in the stew. I'm wondering what you have in mind, like when you approach a situation like this, like what are you trying to achieve in this session or in these sessions with Rihanna? What are you trying to accomplish?
I'm only trying to embody what she means to me, which is love. And that sounds so generic because I know that word gets used a lot. It's abused a lot. But just like that goddess energy that she has, that's in everybody, by the way. You know, that's in all women. It's supposed to be. I just think that she's just much closer to it and understands it and knows how to harness it the best for what she does. So when I'm like making music for her, it's like I'm trying to embody all those aspects in one, song by song.
You're embodying love. I'm wondering if you're loving what you guys are cooking up.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, she's inspiring. She really is. I mean, hands down, her and Drake to me are like some of the best A&Rs. Like they're amazing. They not only know what they want for their music, but they like have great ears for what it is that they want to do.
I don't think anybody would disagree with you, Pharrell. I feel like that's like like people look to them like, wow, they not only know what they want for themselves, but have an amazing finger on the pulse, you know?
She's like somebody in the ER, like she's got her finger directly on the pulse. You want your checkup? She's got her fingers on the pulse.
I like that. People are anticipating it, and so I think they'll be very excited when that stuff becomes ready. Who are you listening to, Pharrell? When you're not listening to your own stuff, and when you're not listening to who you're working with, who are you listening to? Who are you drawing inspiration from?
I think Don Toliver is like, I think he's special. He's something else.
Expand on that though. Don Toliver, he is a young, fresh talent that a lot of people love.
Yeah.
Talk about him. What is it that you see in him? Why Don Toliver? I mean, I'm a huge fan of his, but what does Pharrell like about Don Toliver that maybe he doesn't see in someone else?
His tone is super unique. His choice of like melodies and harmonies is just like something else. He's older beyond his physical years too. Like just his melody choices and the stuff that he chooses to talk about. I heard No Idea for the first time and I was just like, who is this dude? And like, shit just blew my mind. I listened to that for like a month, like off and on whenever I got a chance. And then like finally, like we connected. We like did some really magical shit. I think Ant Clemens is special, super special. That guy is just like, he doesn't know it, but he's a young wizard. He's from another planet. I was just in with Ty Dolla, and Ty Dolla Sign, like, he's from somewhere else too. Cause it's like, he's got like all that turn energy, but at the same time, like you can definitely hear his like 90s R&B influences, and you can hear his gospel influences. I was just randomly listening to Kim Burrell's Holy Ghost again, just cause I have to. It's just always so random, you know, and I just go through my spells of just like listening to like rando, like native tongue stuff to like, you know, just being really like inspired by like some of the, like I love what Cardi does, Playboy Cardi. Uzi's always like elsewhere with the vibes.
Yeah.
I love 21. Like that the new one is, it's crazy. Just some of everything. I'm all over the place.
All over the place. I think it's safe to say that you're also all over the place in a good way when it comes to some of your endeavors. And I want to talk about that in just a second because you have so much stuff going on. But of all of the things that you've accomplished in your life, you've done so very many things. But I think one of the more major contributions you've made to this culture is that you're the man behind the beat that every kid knows how to make on a lunchroom table. Do you know what beat I'm talking about?
Grinding?
Yes. Do you know this? Because I'm one of those kids who grew up and like this is the one beat that every kid, whether they like hip hop or not, knows how to sit in the lunchroom and make that beat on the table.
No, I didn't know that. But thank you. I'm honored. I'm pretty sure I speak for the Clips too. And Chad, like we're all honored. I had no idea. You know, I just remember being 15, 16 years old, just loving music as much as I do now. You know, and the idea that I still get to make it, like, man, God is the absolute greatest. And this ain't for everybody. It don't gotta be for everybody. But whatever is for you, God has for you. And if you're atheist, because there's a lot of them out there, love to you guys as well, but you at least believe in the universe. And you can't have so much hubris to think that you are not part and parcel of this universe. And the idea that for whatever reason, fate has had it that you get to do what you get to do if you love it, right? And I get to do what I get to do, man. I'm grateful. Talk to me about like, you know, kids like playing grind and I'm like, what?
I can't believe you didn't know this. Literally, you could poll a room full of 100 kids that were born in the 90s, and every single one knows how to do that same exact cadence with their palm and their knuckles on a lunch table. It's like the official lunchroom song of America.
That's crazy. That was a while ago, bro. Thank you.
For sure. I heard a story that Pusha T spoke about. He said that you gave him 15 minutes to get to the studio to hear that song and accept that beat, or else it was going to Jay-Z. Is that true?
That sounds like some of my, that sounds like 25-year-old antics, 20-year-old antics. Sounds about right.
Yeah, I'm wondering, has there ever been a time where someone else missed out on a beat because maybe they didn't get to the studio in time?
Not on time. I mean, it wasn't like that, but it was definitely like sometimes people don't hear the same things that other people might hear, so they might pass on the beat, but then when that person gets it, the original person might be like, man, why didn't you make me something like that? And it's like, I did. You just didn't hear it the same way. It's just, sometimes it takes people seeing it. What would the Mona Lisa be if you didn't see her in the photo? I mean, the painting, rather. what would it be? I mean, it would just be an ordinary like landscape, right? But once she's in there, it gives it a whole different context. And, hearing music is the same way. Sometimes it requires a person's voice, their tone and the cadence of what they're saying, to provide the completion of the idea.
We've been speaking about, like otherworldly things, Venus, the universe and such. If there was someone or some being that came from another planet and asked you to show them the beat or play them the beat that you felt best defined what you did or embodied who you are, what would that be? That
changes all the time. So there's not one. If there were one, I think that then I would be done.
So
but because I would say grinding is one. I would say happy is one. I would say you don't have to call. I would have to say, I don't know. I'm just so not good like at archival, biological things. Like I'm not. You're seeing my shortcomings now. Like I'm just not good at that. There are people that I work with that work with me. They're good at those things, but I'm not at all. I so suck at those kind of things.
All good. Last question before we talk about some of your endeavors. It seems to me like, and I could be completely wrong with this interpretation, but it seems like you're a guy who always trusts your creative judgment, your own creative instinct, right? I wonder, as someone who's been in the game for this long, do you think that there will ever come a point where you're going to have to lean maybe on someone else's creative judgment or idea versus your own? How much longer do you think you'll be able to lean on your own? Because for people like me, it seems like you can go forever. But do you feel that way?
That's a good question. I don't know, man. I don't know. I enjoy it too much right now. I'm sure there could be a day. I just don't know. I enjoy it too much right now.
Okay. I appreciate that honesty. Let's talk about some of the stuff that you've got going on, and I want to talk first about hip hop because I imagine that if I surveyed a room full of hip hop artists, a very small percentage of them would have a skincare routine. However, you, who obviously transcends just hip hop, are a guy that is breaking down gender norms in that it's okay for everyone to have a skincare routine. You've always said exfoliate like a madman, but now here you are giving the real secret, and that's in your new skincare line. Can you talk to us about it and why it's important to break down these gender norms?
Well, first of all, I feel like we've been marketed to in a certain kind of way. The entire time in our nation's history, and as long as there's been radio and television, they categorize us and classify us, and not just black people, but men and black men. They categorize us in a way, and they market toward those ideas. And so we essentially, generation after generation, we get these concepts in our head that certain things are effeminate, certain things are more masculine, certain things are acceptable. And essentially the people who market and who market and advertise for these companies essentially determine what makes sense for the masses when that's not necessarily the case. Like, every human being has a face. Why would you not want to take care of your face? And your face is the thing that communicates with other people. It's the most essential part of one's existence when you're around other people. Right? You don't, there's no sense of expression in your elbow or your shoulder, right? It's your face. It's your face. And so, when you take a shower, great. But honestly, there needs to be, 3 to 5 minutes, we have a 3-minute facial, but there needs to be 3 to 5 minutes of like just concentration on your face. There's people who just go in the shower and like, they just like one shower and that's it. And I don't understand it. Then there's people that don't like to use like a face cloth or a bath cloth. I don't understand that neither. We're gonna let y'all rock. but that's a little wild.
We don't have to let them rock. We have this time, Pharrell. I mean, what do we want to say to these people? How much are they wilding?
You know, yeah, man. And there's like some talk about people that don't necessarily want to wash their legs. I
was just about to ask you that. Washing your legs in the shower or not washing your legs in the shower is the weirdest thing to me. What is Pharrell's thoughts on that?
I just think every human being needs to just wash everything. And while you're at it, when you're done, take 3 to 5 minutes and give some consideration to the most important thing in your communicational, the communicational portion and expression of your life, your face. It's the number one thing people think of when they think of you.
Very well put. Very well put. I want to talk before we get out of here about Black Ambition. It's a new initiative that you have that means so very much to people of color in this country who've been through so much. Can you share with us a little bit about what it is and maybe why it is that you wanted to take this on?
So let me say this first and foremost. One, I'm not perfect. I'm not anything. What I am is I recognize that I have a platform and I have the ability to galvanize, and that's what I did. I brought a lot of people together a small team of people actually together that could actually really build something that could help out Black entrepreneurs, Black and Latinx. And the reason why we did that is because if you think about us, the 3 biggest things that hurt us as a culture, that continue to hurt us and have been hurting us for 400 years, is disproportionate access to education, disproportionate access to healthcare, and disproportionate access to representation, like legislation. And we have our caucuses, right? But we have our Black caucuses, but they can't do it alone, right? The other cultures, our other brothers and sisters of other cultures, you know, their money stays in their communities for, you know, much longer than ours, right? I won't go into it. You can look it up and you can see for yourself. But ours, the African-American dollar stays in its community for 6 hours. Why? Because we don't have enough businesses to circulate our dollar in, right? And so because of that, we don't have a voice, right? And again, we don't have a voice because we don't have a real slice of the American pie, right? The American pie chart. You know, Black founders, our Black brothers and sisters, our founders are like VC founders and private equity founders are less than 3%. Think about that. Right? We're north of 30 million human beings in this country. Our influence alone is like $3 trillion, our influence. But then in terms of being founders, we're less than 3%. So we were like, man, there's Black ambition. Let's turn that notion into a machine. So how do we turn that into a machine? We first go to the most fertile ground to launch these searches, to launch prizes for the great entrepreneurial, you know, ideas and founders that we think are worthy of like the support and the prize. What's the most fertile ground for a place like that? That is the HBCUs. Yeah. So we teamed up with like 10 HBCUs. Yep. Historic Black colleges and universities. And then when people win the prize, right, which range from $250,000 all the way down to $15,000, these people all get the amazing strategic scaffolding in the form of mentorship. If you ask the less than 3% African American and African diaspora founders of VC companies and startups, they'll tell you the number one thing that they needed was not necessarily capital, because while capital is hard to come by, what's really hard to come by is that strategic scaffolding, that mentorship to help you not to blow your money. Because while you might have a great idea, you might not be the best person to run your business. Mm-hmm. So we work with Bridgespan. We work with this amazing, amazing, genius Black woman named Willa Selden, who is a partner in Bridgespan out of the Bay Area. But they get this amazing mentorship from Bridgespan, and companies of the ilk. And then you'll see like prizes being launched, prize winners popping up, them getting the amazing mentorship that they've always needed. And then we just start to see this machine just every year. We're just churning out new prizes, new prize winners, them getting the strategic scaffolding that they need. And then all of a sudden, we get that ecosystem that our other brothers and sisters in this country have been getting for, scores of decades and even hundreds of years. This is, Black ambition is more than just a couplet of poetry, 2 words. It's really a machine, and it's really powered by the HBCUs. And again, none of this goes into my pocket. This goes into the prize bucket that goes on to not only put money into the pocket of people who have great ideas, but also the mentorship, because that doesn't come for free, that these other companies put into it. And we also, just so you know, Adidas has donated. CZI, Chanel, Visa, Rimowa, and there's another round of companies that are going to come in as well, and another partner. So, not at this moment. I'm actually saying more than I should. But it's good, man. It's a good program. I'm super excited about Black Ambition, and there will be another great announcement coming up very soon. I'm glad you asked about it, by the way.
I feel like I have a strong feeling about who that might be. It would be a beautiful sight if it's the person I'm thinking of, and the person I'm thinking of is someone who you recently released a song with. And I hope that it is that person, because that would be a beautiful sight to behold.
Oh, it's another person, but he's coming too.
Okay, well,
he's coming too.
When we say
he's coming, when he comes to the table, I'm actually saying way more than I should be. That's the Kogan kicking in. But, look, it's a beautiful thing. You know why? Because it's not about us, man. It's about like our culture. It's about our genetics. I'm in love with our untapped potential. And I think we're never going to really get there until we start like doing more than being poetic and actually putting the machine behind it. And that's what Black Ambition is about. And I know we've talked for a long time. I know it's terrible lighting in this room right now. So many things. But I'm ever so grateful, Speedy, to you and Complex, and just that you guys are even concerned about anything that I got going on. But I'm very grateful, and Black Ambition is a beautiful thing. I would encourage you guys to follow up with the HBCUs, to talk to them about it, because they're really, what they're aiming to do and what we're all aiming to do is going to be good for us.
Yeah, and Pharrell, thank you so very much for being always so eloquent. That was an amazing bow to put on this great conversation that we had. Thank you for taking the time, bro. I appreciate you.
Nah, thank you, man. You be blessed.
Likewise.